It was supposed to be a quiet night. A woman pulled into a nearly empty gas station, headlights cutting through the dark, the hum of the pump the only sound around her. She wore a simple jacket and moved with quiet confidence, just another traveler stopping for gas. But to the two officers watching from across the lot, she looked like someone who didn't belong. Within minutes, flashing lights painted the asphalt red and blue. Questions turned into orders. Orders turned into threats. She stayed calm, too calm for someone they thought they could intimidate. They didn't know who she was. They didn't know the car's hidden dashcam was recording every second. And they definitely didn't know the woman they were harassing wasn't just another driver trying to get home, she was one of their own. Before the night was over, those officers would learn a truth that would end their careers and expose everything they stood for. What really happened that night at the gas station? And before we begin, tell me, where are you watching from? Her name was Jordan Price. 34 years old, sharp-minded, and unshakably calm. To anyone who met her, she was the kind of woman who made you feel both safe and seen. By day, she blended into the world like anyone else, coffee in hand, running errands, checking her phone between meetings. But beneath that quiet exterior was someone who'd seen more of humanity's darkness than most ever would. For years, Jordan had worked undercover with the FBI, investigating corruption, hate groups, and the very kind of racism that thrived in plain sight. Her work was demanding, dangerous, and secretive. Even her closest friends only knew she worked in law enforcement. That night, she wasn't on duty. She was just driving home from a late assignment, exhausted, still half lost in thought about a case she'd just closed. When the low fuel light blinked on, she pulled into a small gas station just off the highway. A quiet place, too quiet, maybe. The lot was dimly lit, the air thick with summer heat and the faint smell of gasoline. She noticed a patrol car parked across the street but thought nothing of it. To her, it was routine. To them, it was something else. As she began fueling up, she felt it, that subtle shift in energy when eyes linger too long. She'd felt it before, countless times, in rooms where she wasn't welcome. But this was different. Inside that patrol car, two officers were already talking, their attention fixed on her. They didn't see a woman coming home from work. They saw someone they thought didn't belong in that part of town. Someone to question. Someone to control. Jordan had no idea her calm evening stop was about to spiral into a confrontation that would test everything she believed in, her training, her patience, and her faith in the justice she swore to protect. The sound of the gas pump clicked softly, the only noise breaking the heavy silence of the lot. Jordan checked her phone, scrolling absent-mindedly. That's when she heard it, the screech of tires against asphalt. Blue and red lights flashed behind her. Two officers stepped out, hands resting on their holsters, eyes cold and sharp. They didn't ask if she needed help. They didn't greet her like fellow professionals. They approached like hunters who had already decided what she was. Jordan stayed still and calm, the way she'd been trained. But something in their tone sent a chill through her. One barked an order for her to step away from the vehicle. The other circled the car, shining his flashlight through the windows as if searching for a crime that didn't exist. She explained she was just refueling. Her voice was even and respectful. But her words didn't matter. They asked for her ID and questioned why she was there, what she was doing, and where she was going. It wasn't curiosity, it was accusation dressed as procedure. She could feel their suspicion rising, feeding off itself. Every calm answer seemed to make them angrier, as if her composure was an insult. They wanted fear. They wanted compliance. One officer stepped closer, his flashlight nearly touching her face. "You seem nervous," he said. Jordan met his stare but didn't respond. Inside, her heart pounded, not from fear, but from frustration. She'd seen this before. She'd investigated cases just like this. But being the target felt different. More personal. The other officer moved to the back of her car, calling in her plate number. She knew what that meant. They were fishing for a reason. Something, anything, to justify the stop that never should have happened. The minutes stretched. The tension thickened. Jordan's instincts told her to de-escalate, to avoid revealing who she was. If she played that card too soon, it could backfire. But if she didn't, this could go bad fast. The first officer asked her to open her trunk. She calmly declined, reminding him she hadn't been detained or accused of a crime. That's when his tone changed, harsher, sharper. "You're refusing a lawful order," he snapped. Her pulse quickened. She knew the playbook: they'd provoke, push, and twist every word until they had a reason to act. Then came the shift. One of them noticed the body cam blinking on her jacket. "You recording us?" he asked, voice rising. Jordan didn't flinch. "For my safety," she said. The words hit like a spark in a gas cloud. His face hardened, and for a moment, it looked like he might reach for her. The lot fell into an eerie silence, the kind that hums right before something breaks. Jordan's hand hovered near her jacket pocket, not for a weapon, but for the badge that could change everything. But flashing it now might expose her cover, her cases, and her team. The air was thick with danger. 2 officers, drunk on power. 1 woman, cornered but not powerless. Then, over the police radio, a voice crackled, dispatch calling in their location. Jordan heard her heart pound in her ears. The night wasn't over. It was just beginning. The argument had escalated beyond reason. Jordan stood in the glare of flashing lights, surrounded by 2 officers whose voices grew louder with every second. Her patience was slipping, not from fear, but from the weight of knowing exactly how wrong this was. The taller officer ordered her to step back, hand edging toward his taser. The other moved closer, shouting about noncompliance. Jordan knew what that word meant in moments like this. It was the line that too many never came back from. Her mind raced through training scenarios, every worst-case flashback hitting her all at once. She could feel her heartbeat in her throat. A simple stop. A gas station. And now, a moment that could end her life. Then it happened. One officer grabbed her arm. Hard. The jolt sent a rush of adrenaline through her body. Instinct took over. She twisted free, voice steady but firm, warning him to step back. If you're still watching this far, make sure to subscribe. It helps us keep sharing stories that matter. Her jacket shifted just enough for the badge on her belt to catch the light. For a split second, time froze. The officers stared, confusion breaking through their anger. One squinted at the emblem, then went pale. FBI, he stammered. Jordan straightened, her tone sharp and commanding now. Yes. Federal Bureau of Investigation. And you're being recorded. The silence that followed was deafening. The same men who had barked orders and thrown accusations now stood speechless. Their authority had flipped in an instant. One of them muttered, trying to recover, but his voice cracked. The body cams on their chests blinked red, capturing every second of their humiliation. Jordan didn't yell. She didn't threaten. She simply stared at them, unblinking, the weight of her authority pressing down harder than any weapon could. But the damage was already done. The moment they realized who she was didn't erase what they'd done, it exposed it. And she knew this footage, this night, would ripple far beyond that gas station. For years, she documented stories like this, victims who never got to show their badge, who never got to say, "I belong here." And now, she was one of them. As she stood under the flickering lights, her pulse finally slowing, one thought echoed in her mind: power protects its own, but only when it wants to. What would have happened if she wasn't FBI? The officers backed away slowly, their confidence shattered. They mumbled half-hearted apologies, trying to patch the damage they'd caused. But Jordan didn't respond. There were no words that could erase the humiliation of being treated like a threat simply because of her skin. She collected her things with quiet precision, each movement deliberate. She'd handled dangerous suspects, infiltrated criminal networks, and faced men who would kill to protect their secrets. But nothing compared to this, the feeling of standing powerless in front of those sworn to protect. Later that night, Jordan sat alone in her car, parked outside her apartment. The body cam footage had already been secured. She knew the investigation would follow, reports would be filed, and consequences might come. But the ache inside her wasn't about justice, it was about exhaustion. The endless cycle of proving her worth in a system that refused to see her humanity. Days later, the video surfaced online. Millions watched as two officers harassed a woman who had done nothing wrong, only to learn she was FBI. The outrage was immediate. The disbelief, familiar. The comments poured in, imagine if she wasn't an agent. How many others never get that chance? Jordan didn't seek attention or praise. She stayed quiet, letting the story speak for itself. But in silence, she wondered how many names never made it to the headlines. How many faces never got justice because they didn't have a badge to protect them. The bureau offered her time off. She declined. Because she knew walking away wouldn't change anything. Change only comes when someone stays, when someone keeps the light on long enough to expose what's been hiding in the dark. So she went back to work, not as an agent above the law, but as a woman determined to hold it accountable. Every file she opened, every case she touched, became personal. Because she had lived the fear she was fighting to end. That night at the gas station became more than an incident, it became a reminder. A reminder that even the strongest can be broken by bias, and even the law can forget who it serves. She survived because of her badge. But survival shouldn't depend on credentials, it should depend on being human. How many more Jordans will it take before that truth finally matters? If this story moved you, hit like, share it with someone who needs to see it, and tell me, what would you have done in Jordan's place?